I really want this Superman film to be good because in my lifetime, born in 1990, I haven't been around. I wasn't around, even though I have seen the original Christopher Reeves. I think the first couple of them, the rest of them get kind of shaky after that. But yeah, that's totally fine. Okay, the 1977 classic, it's a classic for a reason. But in my lifetime, seeing outside of the TV reboots, and there's been, quite a few good interpretations, if not outright great. And then there's also been the animated fare from DC, which is done exceptionally well, okay? That's their own little universe that's out there. But when it comes to proper Superman on the big screen, Superman Returns, what a disaster. I'm sure that film, if you pay attention, you listen close enough, you can probably still hear it playing in the background somewhere, because that shit is just long and atrocious with just some really bad character work, okay? The only thing that it just remains enduring from that is Kevin Spacey's Lex Luthor going, wrong! It's the only thing that remains from that. And then when it comes to Zack Snyder, well, less said about that, the better, because I'm sure that they are just waiting. Oh my God, they're probably just, hugging their Justice League body pillows tight as possible. And they've got their copies of 300 just running in the background. They're just waiting for James Gunn's Superman movie to not make as much money as Man of Steel, for them to just unleash their fury. So it's weird, right? Because I'm not the biggest James Gunn fan, okay? He's never talked me into the theater to watching any of his releases, and the more I learn about the guy, the less I like him, for as much as I could just go ahead and understand a guy trying to tell a joke that might be a little bit out of taste and a little too edgy. I can kind of understand it, but as a person, James Gunn has a gigantic ego that would require Superman and his rogues gallery to go ahead and lift. And he's making that all the marketing cycle of this movie. And the more we see from it, I have not at all been enthusiastic and engaged by any of the trailers, any of the marketing of this film. The only thing that has kind of endeared me to this was something completely and totally disconnected from Superman. It was simply David Corenswet showing that he has the capacity to nerd out about something. But it was about Star Wars, not about Superman. He seems like a nice guy, but I think we're kind of treading on old ground when it comes to, oh yeah, I like the guy playing Superman. It's a pity he's in such a shit film, but we're just a few weeks away, right? July 11th. It's not that long from now, okay? And we're finally going to see this incredibly anticipated title. And I said at the tail end of the last video when we were talking about the Fantastic Four, I think okay? I think FF is probably going to finish third when it comes to the big three releasing in July. It's just, I also wouldn't be surprised, thanks to the Marvel marketing machine and just how many people just go and see the thing that they know. I wouldn't be surprised if it ends up outperforming Superman, especially if there is bad word of mouth about it. Even if some of the stuff is just too off the wall stupid, okay? There's a possibility, but I think if everything is as it sits right now, you're going to have Jurassic World Rebirth sitting up at the top of this, probably breaking $1 billion. And then after that, you're probably going to have Superman, but probably there'll probably be a bigger gap between Jurassic World Rebirth and Superman than there would be between Superman and Fantastic Four. The only thing that could potentially give Fantastic Four a leg up is because it comes out 2 weeks after Superman, and it just could be a decent change of pace, and depending on the way that they market it and depending on how good of a film this ultimately is. And now that we're getting close to its release, we're starting to get a few more concrete details about this. And well, it's interesting, right? Because controlling the narrative, James Gunn has done a shit job, okay? And he continues to do as much, because at the tail end of this video, I'm not trying to tease anything, okay? I'm not trying to say, make sure to stick around for the entire video, like, comment, subscribe. No, none of that crap, okay? It's just, why would this rumor come out now? Okay, but let's focus on the film that we have at hand, okay? Superman allegedly underwent significant changes after a test screening, and the runtime has been revealed. And yes, something very interesting at the tail end of last week ended up coming to light, and it's like, wow. Okay, a script that you pined over and rewrote and rewrote and hell, even reshot as well, it ended up losing that significant amount of time, and you thought that this was so tight and this was a story that you wanted to write, James? Interesting. Superman and DC Studios might not appear to be in the same type of trouble Fantastic Four First Steps is, yeah, but not everything is empowering sunshine and roses with the production, which is only a month and a half away from release. According to a report by World of Real, tensions are high at Warner Brothers, and where CEO David Zaslav and DC Studio lead, both of them, James Gunn and Peter Safran, are scrutinizing every frame to avoid another franchise misfire. World of Real speaks to sources close to the production and mixed reception to test screenings that has the studio folks on edge. Part of the problem is Gunn's brand of humor. Yeah, I could see this happening, which may have dragged the film down in earlier, longer cuts. He leaned heavier on his jokes repeatedly. That's something that I noticed and not a lot of other people picked out of that first trailer that was released. The first scene where Superman gets brought back to the Fortress of Solitude. It's just the quote-unquote witty banter that is between the robots and Superman. I fucking despised, because it was quintessential James Gunn, la la la, upbeat, aloof, we don't take anything serious dialogue. I hate it. I despise it so much. And it's like, oh God, if that's going to be if that's the introduction to your film, which at least at that point when that teaser was released, that was slated to be the opening scene. I didn't like it. And then to start with the first trailer being the interview scene, a 10-minute long uninterrupted dialogue scene between Lois and Clark about this fictional, or at least worked, interview with Superman. Oh my God, dude, it's been so trash. I want this movie to be good. They're just giving me every reason to think it won't be good. But yes, he leaned heavier on his jokes reportedly, triggering a cascade of changes because his superiors were not entirely sold. Exceedingly rare W for WB. Changes include tone, a runtime that stands at 2 hours, 2 minutes at last count, and trimmed comedic bits. Thank God. We are not sure that this means that there won't be any interdimensional cyber monkeys trolling social media at Lex Luthor's bidding. Oh, for fuck's sakes, that better be some of that cut time. World of Real also hears an editor was removed to facilitate a slight reworking of the film's structure. Interesting. People working on the project also getting shit canned. All right. Some key sequences were shuffled, and minor scenes were added during recent reshoots, a slight shift in how the story is being presented. Then another composer was hired to reshape the score. Ooh, interesting. Okay, while the Insider called it a slight course correction, that suggests that tone may have been in flux as recent as a few weeks ago. In all, it is said that 25 minutes had been trimmed to the 122-minute mark, and now DC and Warner Brothers, although nervous, want to get the first entry of their new superhero universe right. Hey man, I can understand that. It's just cutting it this close to the wire. Interesting. Reportedly, there's great confidence the Superman film will be good. They're nervous, but they're anticipating that it's going to be good. Well, apparently that's also reflective in the early projections, okay, because we've talked about this before, and yeah, Superman's set to soar with massive opening box office weekend weekend box office projections. Things are hard to read. Will James Gunn topple Zack Snyder? Well, he better fucking hope so, especially if he's going to be taking passive-aggressive digs at the Snyderverse. James Gunn's Superman is shaping up to be one of the biggest box office events of the year. According to early domestic tracking, the film is expected to open with a $154 million to $175 million opening its first weekend. Not the biggest opening weekend, thanks to Lilo and Stitch making, what was that, $182 million? God. Anyways, if these projections hold, Superman would not only top Warner Brothers' expectations, but also claim the highest regular opening weekend of 2025 thus far. I think that this was obviously crafted before the totals of Lilo and Stitch rolled in, but okay. To put that into perspective, the last time Superman hit theaters in a major way in a solo film was Man of Steel back in 2013 with $116.6 million. Adjusted for inflation, $160.5 million. So yeah, that would fit snug as a bug in a rug for those early projections. And well, if we get another trailer after all of the fine-tuning is done, could end up changing public perception, because yeah, people, well, generally speaking, they liked the part, even if they're highlighting it as that's the only thing that I liked from the trailer. But people in general, they kind of like to see the guy with the underwear on the outside of his costume, you know, like doing heroic things like saving a kid, standing up for truth, justice in the American way, having a loving relationship with Lois. They kind of like those aspects of Clark Kent, okay? They actually want to see the farm boy from Kansas. They don't want to see Murder Man crying over the snapped neck of Zod. It's kind of a little bit of a difference that they want to see with their Superman moving forward, instead of just the stoic, boring asshole that Brandon Routh potentially brought to life in 2006. Nah, man, we just kind of want a throwback. Now's the perfect time. Can James Gunn execute? I don't know. Just see a headline like this, and it also plays into a little bit of a tightrope that Gunn is walking, because on one hand you can read this as he's got some confidence, especially if he's coming out saying no, don't dunk on my lesser competition, it's totally fine, okay? But then at the same time it's also, let's not get mad, okay? Listen, hey man, there's enough pie for everybody, and if you don't think that there's enough pie, you can bake another one, okay? So James Gunn, uninterested in on online fan wars, as Superman and the Fantastic Four prepare to launch in the same month. There's room for both of us. But I think you could also read that online fan wars. Yeah, hey Snyder guys, I know that your cinematic messiah got kicked to the curb after he failed multiple times over. Just don't get mad at me. Like, I just took the job, okay? I used to work with them. See, we actually made like one good movie together way back in the day. Remember Army of the Dead? Like, people like that, right? That Dawn of the Dead. Army of the Dead is the one on Netflix that is 100% James Gunn's vision. Or I'm not James Gunn. Zack Snyder's vision, his blurry fucking vision. This summer, 2 huge superhero movies are set to do battle at the box office, with the DCU reboot Superman launching July 11th and the MCU's behemoth, really, Fantastic Four First Steps. It's interesting, we still haven't got any early projections for First Steps. I find that odd, hitting the theaters a fortnight later on the 25th. But as the DC and Marvel fandom spar online, DCU chief James Gunn has said he is uninterested in getting involved in the internet rivalry, and would rather focus on all that's good about each film. On Threads. I think he's like the last guy still using Threads. Gunn was asked if he had any word on the Fantastic Four in context of fans pitting Marvel and DC against each other. They came out. They come out 2 weeks after us. There's room for us both. I love my friends at Marvel. You can find whatever discussions you'd want to find online. I'd focus on the positivity around the films instead of getting sucked up in the online fan wars, which I think in a vacuum is totally fine. I would actually think that would be a good way to approach things. Yeah, you want to watch Superman? That's cool, man. 2 weeks later, if you want to go watch Fantastic Four, that's great too. If you find things to love in both films, that means that, hey man, entertainment is in a good place. There is in fact room for both of us. We got a 2-hour movie, they got like a 2-hour and change movie as well. You got 24 hours in a day. However you want to spend them, go for it. We just hope that you give us 2 hours of your time, and we will give you some excellent entertainment in exchange. I'm fine with that. 1000% fine with that. Well, we also know that James Gunn is incredibly petty. We've heard about the monkeys on keyboards. We got weaponized cancel culture. We got digs at Snyder Bros. We've got Crypto the super dog. He looks like my dog instead of, proper Crypto. This is very much a James Gunn project, which is why this rumor coming to light at the beginning of the week is very interesting. Especially how this ends up just leaking. I don't get this at all whatsoever. Okay, Warner Brothers executives tried to push for a standalone Henry Cavill Superman film before James Gunn was hired. Remember, he was hired back in 2022. He got the test run with the Suicide Squad in 2021, I think that was? Yeah, 2021. And it didn't do great. But the people that watched it, had a favorable opinion of it, especially within the past 5 years. It's one of the better reviewed superhero films to come out. Not exactly saying that much, but hey, that's something you can go ahead and put a pin on in the wall, okay? He gets a gold star for that one. It obviously, did well enough at Warner Brothers to get him the gig controlling the new DCU, okay? But this is also where it gets interesting. Michael Bay of all people was eyed to direct. Somebody who always got negatively compared to Zack Snyder, okay? Which I don't think at all is fair, okay? For as many Zack Snyder films that I have seen, okay, everybody always holds up his early output, okay? It's just some of the high art that's out there, okay? Like, yeah, I hadn't seen, is it Dawn of the Dead? I think it's Dawn of the Dead that James Gunn wrote for Snyder, and he ended up directing an adaptation. People hold that up as being quite good. I'll take your word for it, sure, whatever. But then 300. When was the last time anybody watched 300? How superfluous is that Oracle scene? I understand it's in the books, and yeah, he just basically ripped pages directly out of the graphic novel and put them on the screen. There is very little character development, and I argue, and and I posit this, okay? Tell me the name of one character outside of Leonidas. I'll wait. Okay, well, Faramir's in it. Cool. What was his name in the movie? Oh, great. Yeah, nobody can remember. He got his eye poked out. Great stuff. And then you got the Hunchback, and you got the weird Baphomet guy that's in Xerxes' fucking traveling circus, and you have the one titty or three titty chick that's in the. It's just so fucking weird. I liked 300 at the time, and then I turned 17 and didn't really like it anymore. And I know a lot of people go, oh yeah, but Watchmen's good. I don't like to use the whole boring defense, okay? But that was a film that I was so overwhelmingly put to sleep by that even after seeing Malum Ackerman's titties, okay, after seeing a sex scene with somebody who was so unbelievably hot as her in the late 2000s, I was done with. The character work was fucking atrocious, and just having that Homelander 1.0, okay, just having Rorschach run out and it's like, oh my god, he's just like me because he speaks the truth, bro. That shit is so fucking ass. I hate The Watchmen. And if that's the best that Zack has to offer, Michael Bay ruthlessly curb checks that hack's output. The Rock, Con Air, the first Transformers movie. Those are great, and at least with his over-the-top explosions, he doesn't have to self-indulgently put in a whole bunch of unnecessary slow-mo. Like I said, I find the leaking of this rumor to be very, very interesting in its timing. Like, this is something that obviously would have happened, between 2021 and 2023, when Henry Cavill was shown the door, when he was still, like, as late as, I think, 2022, whenever Black Adam came out, because Henry Cavill Superman was a post-credit scene where you were going to have, if Black Adam ended up becoming a success, when you were going to have The Rock in charge of the DCU. That's a fucking weird multiverse scenario, but just follow along on that one. It had Henry Cavill still as Superman, okay? Would have had his own movie by Michael Bay, which would have been, it might have been just as stupid as a Zack Snyder project, but probably would have made a lot more sense, and the tone wouldn't have been so goddamn dour. But this rumor right here is just a bringing it back into everybody's mind, just how perfect the casting of Henry Cavill as Superman is. As everybody still, even if you're getting, just more used to David Corenswet in the suit, looking like Superman, he still, when side by side compared to Henry Cavill, okay, still just looks like the great value Dollar General take of Henry Cavill. Then you've got these rumors of WB having second thoughts of bringing back in, of hiring James Gunn to lead a prospective DCU, which we don't really know that much about. Everything's being shaken and everything's being changed at a moment's notice. Today, Supergirl is the next movie out. It could be, fucking Swamp Thing tomorrow, or if they decide to rewrite the script for it, Clayface could be up next. Who even knows, man? Perhaps they're just dangling this out right now to just wonder. It's like, hey, Henry, we know that you got some stuff going on at Amazon. That's all great and that's all wonderful, but still keeping in good shape. Still wanting to do Superman. We got this Michael Bay guy, and we think we can probably do some fun stuff over here. If the whole James Gunn thing doesn't work out, just see where you're at. In about a year or so's time, when Matt Reeves can go ahead and do his Batman, and you can come back and do your Superman, and we'll find somebody competent to do Wonder Woman, so we could eventually lead up to a proper Kingdom Come instead of just slapping that fucking S on the chest and doing a reverse version of it for James Gunn because he thinks that he's so much better than all of those established comic book writers because he's the fucking messiah of media and nobody's going to tell him any different. I'm hoping for Superman to be good, but I won't necessarily hold my super breath on it. So with all that said, thank you all very much for the gift of your time. I've been Don Constantine. I want you to follow your gut and get after it. Take care, everyone.